that was one of my issues when I went to Butler, and I was looking at how many threats there were on that site, how many rooftops, how many windows, how many trees, right? There were a lot of trees that somebody could have easily gotten up into and made like a hide site deer stand, and there were way too many threats for the amount of security they had to cover down on. And so that's another thing that we got to get smarter on.
Man, it seemed like a really basic target to me.
We found out once again that, the Secret Service, because President Trump isn't the current president, they're not giving him, the detail that he needs, right? So they're defaulting to historical norms instead of actually looking at the threat presence to this guy, because he's clearly the most targeted politician, maybe besides Netanyahu in the world right now. And so it's like, if I was the director of Secret Service, I wouldn't be going off of, historical norms or what we did yesterday. I'd be going off of, hey, which one of these guys that I'm assigned to protect has the most threats? That's who's going to get the majority of my assets and the majority of my attention. And I'm going to try and do as good of a job as I can across the board, but that's clearly not happening.
And politics plays into it.
Yeah.
I mean, because Robert Kennedy Jr., his dad was assassinated. John, there's no other family that's fallen to more assassins' bullets than the Kennedys, obviously. Historically in this country, I'm sure there's somewhere. But he was denied Secret Service by the President of the United States. And they made up all this BS. But Obama was given, when he was running, was given Secret Service protection early. And it's at the discretion of the President of the United States. And so you've got to wonder, and at where Trump got shot, there was the talk of Homeland Security was there instead of Secret Service. You saw people that were too short, and then they couldn't put their guns in their holsters, and they were hiding behind the pile. And
Shawn, as somebody who's trained, what'd you think when you saw one of the Secret Service agents up on that detail that couldn't holster a weapon after like 3 attempts?
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care what the sex is, man. I really don't. But at the same time, like, does that look like somebody who's well trained to you? No.
And let me ask you guys this. You got these guys up there that were obviously too short. You wouldn't have somebody in the iconic picture. That should have never been able to have happened, because the only way it was because there was an agent or whoever it was head and shoulders short. They got a specific job. It's literally to take a bullet for Trump or whoever they're guarding. And they clearly failed at that. And then that frontal view was just awful. That was just, to me, I was shocked that they allowed that. And then if you can listen to the audio, he says, we're going to move on my count, 3, 2, 1. And they just stayed there. The thing would be to get him off. If there'd have been a second shooter, all you do is just start shooting into that pile. From what I've been told, the job is to get his ass off the stage and get him out of there and get him in a secure environment.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't know what they're putting out at Secret Service, but it's against pretty much from everything I saw. It's completely against everything I've ever learned in the SEAL teams or in the agency's protective unit. So, maybe they're.
And I know they play by different rules, because I've talked to other Secret Service agents because of the political ramifications of it. Like, I've been told that these advances can come back with the recommendation that, hey, let's not hold this rally here. But even then, it's up to the campaign. Mm-hmm. So, if a campaign decides, hey, we're going to hold a rally here regardless, of what your recommendation was, they're going to hold the rally there. And so that was one of my issues when I went to Butler. And, I was looking at how many threats there were on that site, how many rooftops, how many windows, how many trees, right? There were a lot of trees that somebody could have easily gotten up into and made like a hide site deer stand, and there were way too many threats for the amount of security they had to cover down on. And so that's another thing that we got to get smarter on.
Man, it seemed like a really basic target to me. looking at it from the, I mean,
Yeah,
you were there.
If you would, yeah, if you.
But I mean, comparative to like, I mean, I remember being in the SEAL teams in 2004. There was a big NATO convention in Istanbul, and we did a ton of sniper overwatch at that NATO convention, and I mean, that was a nightmare.
Right.
I mean, you're looking at 15, 20 story buildings with windows on every floor, completely surrounding the venue, and thousands of people.
Way too many avenues, to cover with the guns that you have in the.
And we felt like we had it covered. And so you take this, which appeared like it was in a rural setting, mostly farmland. I mean, a thermal imager could have covered those trees, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I mean, stuff just doesn't get dropped. It was impossible. It seemed impossible for
drones. That's what I asked about the
dropped.
golf course shooting. Shouldn't there have been a drone? Anytime he's out in the open, I would think there'd be a drone. I mean, I went to a football game in Knoxville this past. Every week I've gone to a football game. They've had multiple drones. I mean, it's just like you could see the part in my hair from up there. I mean, and again, we said that we needed drones the first time, and then the second time, there's still no freaking drones out on the golf course.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too, Shawn, is that when you, my perspective and what I know now, and obviously this is a fresh story because it just happened yesterday, but when I look at the pictures of his hide site, if that's or his final firing position, as we would call it, one of the things I noticed based on this story that I'm hearing is that he was spotted because he put the barrel of his gun through the fence, right? Behind me, you have a picture of a legit, sniper team on a rooftop, and it looks like somebody blew a loophole or a hole in the wall, which, most snipers want to use. They want to be as far back from, the actual hole they're going to be shooting at. And so I was looking at it and like the Secret Service, in my opinion, got lucky again because this guy wasn't trained. I could tell if he was trained, he would have had a pair of $20 bolt cutters with him. He would have cut out his loophole or his line of sight through that fence, and then he would have pushed back into the shady leaves so that he couldn't have been seen, right? The other thing that I noticed was he had his 2 ballistic plates up on the fence. What does that create? Well, it's definitely not. It stands out. And one of the first things they teach you in sniper school is there are no straight lines in nature, right? And so you got if a Secret Service agent is just scanning a fence line and he sees a bunch of leaves, and then boom, he sees 2 like dark plate looking things that have straight lines, it's going to catch his eye. And so it just showed me once again how lucky we were that the guys right now that are being that are coming after the president or being sent after the president don't have a lot of training.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.